Greetings! In this video we are going to look at study number 20 on page 42 of the Christopher Parkening Classical Guitar Method Volume 1. First I'm going to play through the piece so you can hear what it sounds like, and then we will spend some time learning how to deconstruct it so that we can perform it more confidently. So this is definitely a piece where we have two voices going. We have a texture up top and we have a melody in the bottom, and occasionally there gets to be a little bit of complexity in that top line. Well, the best way to handle this, in my opinion, is to start by just practicing the parts separately. So for example, we have the top part, pretty straightforward, but the bottom part of the first line is going to be something like this. So we're going to forget about our index finger and just play the bottom notes. And either memorize that or get very comfortable with reading that. And once it is very easy for you to do that, then we can add in some top notes. Another way we can do this is we can take it in little pieces. If we start with little chunks in the beginning, then once that's easy, we can spread it to a larger chunk and a larger chunk. So what that might look like, for example, is doing one measure at a time. I'm going to take the first four notes, and into the next measure is really good because that way we learn the transitions as well. So I'm going to do the first five notes. So you want to commit that to your short-term memory, and once that's easy for you to do it without looking at the score, is to clamp down that index finger and do the same thing. And you're going to notice that that's going to throw off your hand because you're used to just being unstressed there and just worrying about the tension of your middle and your ring finger. So now that we add a whole new element to our hand, it's going to complicate things. And your hand just has to get used to it. It's capable of it, but it might take a little bit of practice. Once you've gotten used to holding down that C throughout that sequence of five notes, then we're just going to add a little sequence of getting used to adding that index finger. Just as my thumb goes down, my index is going to come back up. And it's surprisingly simple. Once you've gotten used to that, then you take the next five notes. So starting at the beginning of the second measure, I'm going to do F, A, G, E, G, and take that chunk and put it through the same procedure. First we do no index finger, and then we're going to do with the index finger, and then you're going to add that texture with your right hand also. So we're just taking the most simple possible way to deconstruct it and then adding one layer of complexity at a time. Now, if you practice measure by measure, at first that might be a challenge, but after a couple days of practice, it's going to get significantly easier, and then you can start to do maybe 7 or 8 notes, or maybe 2 full measures, and you'd want to include the next beat of the following measure, so you could do 9 notes, or what you could do is you could overlap. You could do the first and second measure, and then the second and the third, and in that way, you're overlapping that second measure and making sure you get every transition practiced. But there's a great way to just get your hand used to this weird type of movement. It's sort of like when you're writing a paper for school. If you do the extra effort to write an outline before you write the paper, you're going to actually end up writing the paper faster, and it's going to be of higher quality. Well, when we do these extra steps to learn a piece of music, it's the exact same principle. You're going to put in extra effort on the front end, but you end up with a better result and probably even finishing learning the piece more quickly when you take those extra steps, which is ironic, but it's really just a matter of good practice skills. And it's going to help you to understand A, the technique, and B, how the music is written as well as you break apart these textures. Looking at the third line, all of a sudden it's a lot easier because we don't have to worry about that index finger. It's mostly just a B in the top. And then the final system, that last little part is going to be a little tricky, and I would just encourage you to isolate the tricky spot. And one thing you can do if you have something like this that may be throwing you off is to start with the end and add backwards. So for example, those last two notes, probably pretty easy for you to play. And at some point in the last two measures, let's say you're getting tripped up somewhere in the last two measures. Well, you just take the ending, and if that's easy, you can do it 10 times in a row without making a mistake. Let's add one step backwards. And use the same fingering you would use. You'd use your index finger for that B, and then your thumb and index for that last note. Or you could even do something like index, middle, just so you can get that speed if you need it. Once you're confident you can do that every time, well, then we add that step backwards, G, B, E, C. If you're confident you can do that, you add one step. And you keep adding backwards. And what'll happen is you're going to identify right exactly where you get tripped up. If you can do that, then you can practice that spot and buff it out. And it might take a day or two. Remember that your brain builds new pathways while you are sleeping. So if you bear that in mind, then it's going to be easier to deal with the frustration of, I'm not conquering this during this practice right now. That's totally normal because sometimes you need to sleep on it and come back to it. And certain things you're going to have to work on it, sleep on it, work on it, sleep on it, and it will come with practice and perseverance. So stick with it. This is a great piece to learn. It's going to challenge your hand to start doing some of these more complex skills that are vital to playing interesting music on the guitar. And it's going to prepare you for what's coming. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this is helpful, and I encourage you, if you find this helpful and you want other people to find this as well, then please like and subscribe. God bless.